As a fundamental human right, being communication the basic right for every human being, according to the Human Rights Declaration, and the acceptance of that amongst many in the world, many countries in the world, especially developing countries. So I think it remains a fundamental challenge to actually bring those people online, number one thing. Number two thing, with access comes infrastructural issues, and within those infrastructural issues, the ethics issue also comes together. So I think it's going to remain a major challenge. Because I was part of a small program in the past, which was over-ambitious to bring like 1 billion computers to underprivileged people across the world. And we did go off on a very strong footing, but later on the recession and the financial crisis across the world set that program back severely. So I think one is the slogan, one is actually achieving the opportunity or actually getting those computers over there. Then at the same time, the interconnect costs between developing countries, right, remains a challenge. For example, in Pakistan, we have an infrastructure where we give free internet over the landline to like the whole citizenry who has landline access. And at the same time, for us, broadband in urban centers at the moment stands at like $12 for 1 megabit. And then for businesses, it goes up to like, let's say, $100 per month. So for some countries, which are like low-income countries, it's already happening. But for the majority of the world, it will remain a challenge, because when funds are drying up and when there is no real model available whereby you know that you can get internet and access to computing to these people, especially when they don't have power, when they don't have access to food, water, health, education. So this remains a challenge. So I think it can be achieved, but to determine maybe a long-term date would be really hard for anyone. What I feel is that we're looking at maybe 15 years down the line. That is why so much trust is being put into mobile technology as to being that catalyst which will get internet to people. But we have to remain aware of one thing, that in the past 2 or 3 years, companies like Nokia and others have produced low-cost cell phones, which are only providing you basic services, right, over black and white LCD or LEDs, and that's about all we have. And if you look at the people who are accessing these kind of cell phones, is your larger lower income layer of population, and they don't really actually use even SMS services, and how do we expect them to use the internet? So it's a very big capacity issue as well. So capacity would be a major challenge once you get the machines to them. The one laptop per child project by Negroponte was a very good assessment, that if you give tools into children's hands, they may play around with it and they may start hacking and playing with the tools on the program. But what about the people? What about the elders? What about the youth and onwards? So how we can get that culture rolling as well remains a major challenge. Because I heard the same things like 7 years ago. And I've been part of programs which have tried to do this. And today we still stand at crossroads with finances, with fundings drying up, with ICTs and internet access not being a part of major donor programs across the world, especially helping developing countries. In Africa, I can say one thing, at the Pan-African level, like the Free and Open Source Software Foundation of Africa, and with their donors, they have somehow stepped into this area of ICT innovation and so forth. They are trying to get internet across Africa, but then it still remains a challenge. Let's say the problem in Ethiopia, the war-struck areas in Africa, right? How is ICT going to help them? The major disasters that are hitting the rest of the world, right? Infrastructure just gets washed away. Pakistan, pick up what's happening around, like even in developed countries at the moment in the West. Challenges are there, right? I don't think that slogan is going to help. I don't think just betting on something is going to help. Actually committing is what needs to be done, and a commitment at a global scale.